Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to episode 57 of Word Ninjas Live. I am your instigator of literary productivity, Charles, and joining me today is Will.
Hello!
Everyone else is off traveling or doing research on temporal mechanics or kidnapped by space weasels, the usual. But we're still going to do a show because we're stubborn like that. We are, however, going to be skipping the weekly talking points because we kind of want a better dialogue or more of a discussion rather than just a two-person dialogue. So we're going to hold off on those until next week.
They're really good, but yeah, the more minds for those, I think the better.
Yeah. And
it's very opinionated stuff.
Yeah. And as you can probably notice, we do not have a special guest this week. We did not manage to coordinate anything. So it's just going to be one of those regular, but somewhat shorter shows. I'm sure certain people will appreciate that, because sometimes our 2 to 5 to 7 hour long shows are a bit silly. Kind of hard to keep going with it.
Someday we should do a marathon 24-hour show or something like that.
It would have to be in multiple parts, because I think YouTube stops at 8 hours now.
Oh.
So that would be, what, 3 segments?
We could do a live reading of a novel.
I don't know, I think it would have to be a decent-sized novel for 24 hours of audio. Unless we did a whole series.
War and Peace.
It would have to be the unabridged version. Probably still more interesting than the other absurdly long book that I keep on meaning to get to but never do, which would be Dr. Zhivago. Apparently that one is fascinating and like a great classic, but I just no. I have enough other books that I actually want to read. I still want to do a whole review of the books on my shelf to show just how many I have, but maybe tomorrow, because it would take all day. But in the meantime, since we are skipping an interview and we're skipping talking points this week, we're going to roll right into the highlights reel. And conveniently, it is the end of the month, which means we can actually talk about what's being released next month in regards to books. This requires going to screen share. And I actually remember to keep everything in the same tab this time around, so I can just push the button and go like that.
Hooray!
Now, I am somewhat lazy in that I'm just using the same setup as last time around, where we go to Barnes & Nobles, figure out the books coming soon. I'm currently kind of on temporary ignoring of Amazon. I know there's a more proper term for that, but I'm blanking on it because I'm just re-rolling with it all. But yeah, I don't want to play with Amazon right now. So we're doing Barnes & Noble since Borders doesn't exist anymore.
You could always try Books A Million.
Keep forgetting about that. Mainly because the closest one is about an hour away.
You mean by me?
No, there's actually one in the Trumbull Mall. Although it's really tiny and sad.
We have a nice big one.
Although that Books A Million is where I got your little baby fox.
No.
It does have some nice stuff.
He's been knocked on the floor. Marcus has been on my desk. He knocks over my foxes.
Oh. Shame on him.
These guys have made an appearance before, but since then I've learned that they came named. And this little guy's name is Francine Fox. Yeah, whatever. Yes, you knocked my foxes over. No.
Sorry, Daddy.
Alright. So, I decided to just snag one book to focus on for each week of September rather than go through all of them, because then we would be here for 8 hours, and I'm sure a few people would get upset about that. it's easy enough to go to the website and just scroll through all the various options depending on your literary preferences, but for these purposes, I'm going the easy route with what I would probably read, or at least something that caught my eye. This caught my eye. I don't know if I'd read it since I'm a Trekkie fan. Never really got into Star Wars, but a new Star Wars book is coming out this week, or at least starting tomorrow. What is the actual release date? Is it conveniently there? Oh, Tuesday. Close enough. But apparently, A New Dawn by John Jackson Miller is coming out Tuesday for the Star Wars Expanded Universe. I'm still kind of curious how much of the Expanded Universe is going to make its way into the next Star Wars trilogy movies. How much are they going to be able to play with that?
I heard something about that. Disney said, what did they say? It was either that they were going to apply it or they were going to completely ignore the expanded universe. I forget. Yeah. Yeah, Disney's going to completely ignore the expanded universe.
I can't tell if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, because
No
there's
idea.
there's actually a lot of quality content in the expanded universe.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, but Disney said they're going to ignore the EU.
Maybe it's a matter of like licensing issues and legal complications to get into the expanded universe.
No idea.
It's probably a little more complicated than they want to bother with. But yeah, new book for Star Wars, if that is your thing. Let's see. For the week of September 8th, so not this week, but next. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Which one did I snag? It's that one. So it was an unassuming cover. That maybe it's not in that week. Where did it go? I want to show it on this screen. Because I know I have it in another tab. I know it exists. Oh, it's in 2 weeks. I didn't snag anything for this one.
Probably safe to just go with The Walking Dead.
That one. Yeah, I still haven't gotten into The Walking Dead. But apparently they're already up to book 10. Goodness.
I figured it's popular enough that we might as well mention that it's coming out.
True. Alright, collection of numbers 109 to 120. So, what is that, 11 volume?
Yes.
Or
11.
Yeah.
Well, it's a comic, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's a graphic novel that comes out, I don't think it's weekly, but pretty regularly.
Yeah.
I'm still amazed that it's gone that long and done as much as it has, which makes it rather intimidating to get into if you haven't done any of that yet.
Like most graphic novels.
Yeah. See, that comes out on the 9th, so also a Tuesday. What is it with Tuesday releases? That's odd.
Everything has specific release dates. Movies, books, video games.
True.
There's always a specific day of the week. Usually Tuesdays. I don't know why.
If I remember correctly, most graphic novels come out on Wednesdays. Because I feel like I remember going to the comic book stores in New York pretty often on Wednesdays.
Hmm.
And then complaining about how much money I spent. Yeah, that's coming out not this week, but next. And it looks like they have all the other volumes there if you happen to be behind. Oh, and it's hardcover. That's nice. If you want something a little more durable.
Hmm.
So the week after that, we decided to snag Everybody Writes because we're a writing podcast, so it kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
But saw this one coming out in 3 weeks. Everybody Writes, your go-to guide for creating ridiculously good content. The subtitle makes me think this is more towards business and blog writing rather than fiction, but I have not actually...
I don't know, but if you're going to write good content, it might as well be ridiculously good content.
True. Let's see. Sections include how to write better, easy grammar and usage rules, tailored for business in a fun, memorable way. Okay, so yeah. It's still useful.
Hmm.
giving your audience the gift of your true story. That is very useful because we are still a storytelling society.
Oh, yes.
Best practices for creating credible, trustworthy content. Steeped in some time-honored rules of solid journalism. I actually wouldn't mind reading that part just to see how proper they do about solid journalism because a lot of journalism rules are not being followed anymore,
Right.
which is becoming increasingly frustrating. If this actually holds true and does use the proper journalistic integrity style, then I'm all for that. And then things marketers write. The fundamentals of 17 specific kinds of content that marketers are often tasked with crafting. I
Wow.
wonder how many of that 17 I've done on a regular basis.
Now you're just curious.
And then content tools, the sharpest tools you need to get the job done. That actually does sound pretty interesting. Let's see. 16 bucks for a hardcover, that's not bad. I might have to take a peek at that when it comes out.
Indeed. You just have to wait a couple weeks.
Let's see, 12, 13. I think that's a Monday, actually. The 15th. Huh. 12, 15. Yeah, that's a Monday. Well done. Next one up that caught our eye was how Google works. Initially, it was because, well, it's Google. How hard is it to use Google? But no, apparently this is actually more about the actual company and how it I think how it was founded and run and all that. So it's kind of interesting because that is a pretty fascinating company how they actually work, whether you like them or not.
Hmm.
So let's see that.
Whether you like it or not, Google is everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the week after. I don't know what day that is offhand. I don't have a convenient reference in my head for that one.
23rd is Saturday. Oh, wait, no, I'm looking at August. 23rd is Tuesday. It's a
Okay.
Tuesday.
So only the writer's book is on a Monday so far. It's special. Then again, if it's a business book and businesses start on Monday, that makes sense.
Hmm.
So there. And the last book coming out next month that caught up my eye was another one by R.A. Salvatore, because he will not stop writing ever.
I don't think he's capable of
I think he writes
stopping.
in his sleep at this point.
Well, I believe what it is that he's a professional writer. This is all he does. This is his job. His income is writing.
And he is very good at it.
Yes.
But this is another author and series and universe where it's getting a little more intimidating every month to get into it, because he just keeps writing more. And
Wait. This is about.
it's Companions Codex number 2, so
Picks up the fan favorite storyline of Dwarf King Bruenor Battlehammer and his bloody feud with the Orc Kingdom of. I think I see what he's doing.
what is he doing?
These are interspersed stories because there was a timeline jump in the original series during that where they skipped a lot of stuff and they presumed a lot of stuff. So I'm wondering if he's going back and filling in details.
Barnes & Noble's editorial review specifies this is a standalone sequel to Night of the Hunter.
I think Night of the Hunter was probably Companions 1.
Okay. Well,
King Bruenor Battlehammer continues a bloody feud with the Riddler's Kingdom of Many Arrows, swashbuckling action, shadowy tree. Yeah, because there's a whole bunch involving the Kingdom of Many Arrows where they just kind of they do the founding of the Kingdom of Many Arrows in the Hunter's Blade trilogy, and then they just kind of leave it at that with the assumption that there's a lot of trouble since it's a new young kingdom, and it's an orc kingdom, and orcs aren't quite used to civilization yet.
Yeah,
So
they don't really play nice.
Yeah, there's a lot they have to deal with as a new, actual civilized kingdom on the surface. And in the original set, when he jumped over to the Transitions trilogy, he didn't really cover it all that much, aside from the Orc King. After that, he just leaves it implying that there was a lot that happened, but just kind of left. And went to do his own thing for the Pirate King.
I'm curious now, the Companions Codex series, what do we got in there? Alright, we got Night of the Hunter, audiobook.
Yes.
Regular book. Yeah, that's Companions Codex number 1.
Right. And then Rise of the King is the new one coming out.
Yeah, that one comes out at the end of September on the 30th.
Right.
When did Night of the Hunter come out? That came out.
I don't understand what it's about.
Oh wow, March of this year. So
yeah.
So
These are the Forgotten Realms series that Aristotle created just a word for his first novel on a whim, true, and that in the quarter century since, his spontaneous creation has become one of the most popular and endearing characters in history. In the latest incarnation, the hero and his friends risk the dangers of the Underdark to rescue Brunor's faithful shield dwarf turned vampire. What?
When did Brunar have a shield dwarf turn vampire?
In the last
think I got
set,
that one yet.
But
Huh.
in the last set, it happened in the Neverwinter series. But that doesn't make sense. I don't know if I want to say that because spoilers. Can I do spoilers?
If you specify that they're going to be spoilers.
All right, this is potentially a spoiler if you haven't read the Neverwinter series yet. So
is that the Neverwinter trilogy?
4-parter.
Quadrology.
Yeah, it's a 4-parter.
I think I have that one.
And
I probably read it.
In the second through third and maybe into the 4th part, they talk about it. The shield dwarf they're referring to, spoilers again, is Dwarf Gwent.
That name sounds familiar.
He's the battle rager, spiky armor, never bathes.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he kind of gets turned into a vampire at the end of the first book.
Doesn't that make him even more dangerous?
Well, he dies at the end of the first book, and then at the end of the second book, they revealed that he survived as a vampire, and then they have to deal with him in the 3rd and 4th book, but it's very, very subplot.
Huh.
It was almost skippable, honestly. He could have left it out, and it wouldn't have really changed all that much. But at the end of that, Quent, who was trying to deal with being a vampire and resist it, finally decides he can't, and not wanting to live a life as a vampire, he just sits out and waits for sunrise. Which, when you're a vampire, kind of has only one outcome.
You get a very bad tan.
Yeah. So I don't know how they can be going to the Underdark to rescue him, since they implied that he kind of incinerated himself. Well, of course, it was from a distance, so I suppose...
Yeah. Well, one thing with Salvatore I've noticed is it's almost manga style in that if you don't see the body actually dead or disintegrated or burned away or anything like that, all bets are off.
Yeah.
It is very hard to kill anyone in this universe.
If it's in the Underdark, I wouldn't be surprised if at the last minute... why am I blanking on his name now?
Which one?
Jarlaxle. Jarlaxle snuck up behind him and grabbed him and saved him, and it's like, no, don't worry about it. Got you covered.
Yeah, you never know.
Jarlaxle, always screwing with the plot.
Well, someone has to.
Oh, the sun is screwing with my settings. But who knows?
Yeah, I guess you have to get the new book, or the book that came out in March as well, and read them and find out.
I may have to.
That is one of those universes where I do kind of want to get all of the compendiums to actually read the full universe, because it is a fascinating world that he has built.
Hmm.
especially over the full timeline.
Technically, I suppose I have most of them. I don't have any of these companions ones, but now I may have to look into them just to see the story.
Maybe between the two of our collections, we will have all of the volumes
Hmm.
at some point. And those are some of the highlights of books coming out next month. If you want to check out the same list that we have, the link will be in the show notes, or you can just go to Barnes & Noble's coming soon options. They have everything split by weeks, going all the way to October and beyond. Well, that's kind of vague. Ooh, I already know what I want to talk about for October, but we're going to have to wait a whole month for that. But let's see. Those are the books.
Clearly, it's the new Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh, obviously. The next up on the highlights was, where is that? Something that popped up on, where was that?
I found it
So.
on a journal. It's a meme, so I don't know where it started, because who the hell knows where any memes start. I found it on a journal entry on So Furry, and I liked it, so I decided to share it on my Tumblr page, and now we have it on the Full Coverage Writers Tumblr page. It's a writer's meme. How animal are your animals? Basically, if you're writing a story that has any kind of animal with even the slightest bit of anthropomorphia to them, either anything from like what I write to the classic story Animal Farm, which had regular animals but could talk, at least to each other.
Considering some of their conversations, I don't know how regular they were, but yeah.
Well, you know, there's an interesting discussion about socialism through animals. Bloody pigs. But basically, this is a list of, I forget how many questions it is. Several questions.
Let's see.
And they're basically
20 questions.
20 questions, true-false questions about your animal characters in your story. And you're supposed to keep track of how many you answer true to. An example here is like the top one is characters in my universe have children in numbers comparable to real animals. For example, canines have litters of 5 to 6, and rabbits breed like real rabbits, so on and so forth. If, like in my story, I don't do that, I treat them more like humans, where they have 1 to 2 on average at a time, I would answer that false. But if you're writing more where they would have litters, then you would answer true. And as you're going through down the list of all 20, you keep track of how many you answered true to. And then there's comparisons on the bottom to see how much like real animals your animal-like characters are. I believe I fit into the second category. And it's just an interesting little writing thing that I just found it amusing. And it also, some of the questions made me think about stuff I hadn't thought about before. Some of the questions are pretty deep, like the number 12 there. Animal species do not act as metaphors to reflect real-life flaws in society, such as racism or prosecution.
Yeah, that one stuck out.
Basically, if you use a certain species of animal to represent a certain race, and then you're having certain species being persecuted by others, you're basically making a connection to real-life racism and persecution. And things like that. For example, if you have a race of mice who are subjugated under a race of cats. And like I said, the scoring system on the bottom there basically compares it. For example, if you get through a 0 through 5, you're basically talking about humans with the fur coat. They're basically people, they just don't look like people on the outside. 6 through 10 is funny animals with rules. 11 through 15 is just civilized, and 16 through 20 is barely anthro, where you're basically talking about talking animals, but they're animals. I would compare it to, I mean, there are some links on here to compare it to other people's stories and whatnot, but like the 16 through 20, the barely anthro, I would say Animal Farm would probably be a good, accurate example, because they were basically just talking animals. Although the pigs at the end definitely fit into the just civilized department. Bloody pigs.
Mm.
If you've read the story, you'd understand why I'm not a fan of the pigs in Animal Farm. If you haven't, go read it.
Yeah, and as fun as it would be to spoil it, since it's been out for a long time, so I think we're safe from that, but nah, it's better just to go read it.
Yeah, go read it. Or at least go watch it. They even made a live-action movie about it that was fairly close.
I don't remember the live action one. I just remember the really weird cartoon one.
They did the weird cartoon. They did the live-action one had a slightly different ending. They made it a little bit more PG. Because I think it was basically a child's adaptation of it.
Okay.
So the ending does change to be a little bit more PG, but it's basically a live action with real animals, and they basically just filmed animals in a barn and then had voice actors talk for the animals.
That might actually be less creepy than the animated version.
I think it was, because I've seen the animated version too. I had a class in high school where we had to read it, watch the animated version, and watch the live action version.
Oh my.
I remember the animated version being pretty creepy at the end there.
Hmm. That is an interesting list. I don't really have any stories where I could play around with that at the moment. But
You could potentially apply it to any werewolf characters you might have, or druid characters you might have.
I don't even remember what happened to that guy. He's still wandering around for a new god. Yeah, those are the highlights for this week. Let's see, up next is writing prompts. I did not queue that up, because why would I do that? So, let's load that. And then click on the thingy so we can actually view it. Wait for it to load. Make it all big so people can see it. Said make it all big so people can see it. There we go. And then put myself back on screen share. And then we wait, and then we do that. All right. The weekly writing prompts, because we like to give people ideas for their stories. Each week we provide 10 one-line writing prompts, 10 one-word writing prompts, a combination of Rory's story cubes for a more visual style prompt, and we are in the second week of testing out some musical and artistic prompts. So I will take the one-line and one-word writing prompts, since it's been a while since I've done those, and you can play with the story cubes.
Fair enough.
This week's one-line writing prompts are: reading the rules book has only made me more confused than I was before. That hurt my feelings. I'm about to plug in the power for the pumps. I'm terrible with numbers, letters, symbols, and languages in general. That's amazing. This is not a game appropriate for children. You can't hide from me. Since when did we have a pond in our backyard? No one should have to clean up a hoarder's house. Oh, that's what I get for not checking the last one for spell check.
I was going to say, I think you've got a typo in there.
Yeah, that's what happens when I do this in InDesign and there's no spell check option, because why would InDesign have spell check? It should be every single disk is scratched. I will do my best to fix that before I post everything.
That makes more sense than what's written there.
It was close. Just 2 letters off. All right, your one-word writing prompts for this week are restore, confession, reference, sale, disgusting, mute, dream, inquisitive, loading, and burst. And now for the story cube interpretations.
Alright, so for the story cubes today, the first one appears to be some kind of flask or beaker. I'm not sure what the appropriate term for that size shaped one is. Half filled with liquid, and it is about to be tipped and poured over. We have a flashlight, or as our friends over in the UK might call it, a torch. We have what appears to be a man taking advantage of a 5-finger discount as he swiftly runs off with a box of goodies. Either that or it's a Ninja Turtle.
Without a shell.
Eh. We have a chest of treasure with some glowing treasure inside. We have a man swinging a bat at a ball. Looks like he's about to get a high fly out in the left field. We have a balance scale that is tipped in favor to the left side. We have a mushroom. We have the outline of a left hand. And we have a blank speech bubble.
And those are the first page of prompts for this week. Let's see if I can do the musical prompts, or prompt, really. Standard treble clef, we got 16th notes, so 16th B, 16th B, 16th C, 16th C, 8th D, 8th E, whole note E. There is no time signature denoted, so make of it as you will. And for the artistic prompt this week, we have regret is well known here. Make of those what you will. As always, if you utilize any of these creative prompts, we would love to read, listen, or see them. You can send us a copy or the URL where we can check it out via our email address, which is wordninja@fcwriters.com, conveniently at the bottom of each page of writing prompts. And for people who send us their submissions, we get to read them on the live show, which means I get to go back to the show notes because that's where the submission was. And then we scroll down, scroll past it, scroll back up. We have a little drabble from last week's prompts, and I think also from this week's prompts since they were posted yesterday. The submission we got from Pete, again, same as last week, only different words this time around. Let's see. These submissions are: the animatronic wings that the pauper attached to the doorstop outside headquarters were chartreuse, so they were worthless. That color in a carpet isn't worth a penny and just serves to lure the type of people in that we really don't want to deal with. I think that's utilizing the one-word prompts from last week, and then the next one is for the one words for this week, if I remember his email correctly. That inquisitive fop failed to restore my belief in the great dream. They burst into a disgusting, highly detailed confession which I had to stand mute for. Civil servants have to serve as a reference for behavior that is expected from all those who come to landing. We'll remove the wings sometime next week. And those are the submissions we've gotten since last week. I'm actually kind of curious if anyone's going to take on the challenge for the musical or artistic prompts, because that would be kind of fun to do. But we shall have to wait and see and listen for if such submissions are ever submitted. Let's see. The next segment would be goals and aspirations. Let's see. We have each week we do goals and aspirations updates for ongoing creative goals because it's nice to have a little bit of what would that be? Accountability. Because stating like, oh, I've made progress, or no, I haven't, on a live show that is recorded for posterity and then posted onto the internet for all to watch and listen to. If we don't do stuff, then people can make fun of us or at least point out, hey, you should be working. And it's kind of a useful reminder every week to think, oh yeah, I should focus on that right now. My various goals and aspirations are my regular ongoing stuff, more or less. We still have some convention logistics to sort out. Still trying to get press for a couple conventions still going on this year. We're also still kind of working on getting all the press recordings from Inconceivable on the website. That should be up sometime end of this week or next. We got, I think, 8 panels when all was said and done, so it's taking a little while to put all those together because we also did dual recordings for some, so we had 2 cameras running simultaneously, and it takes a little while to splice all that together. But as soon as we get those prepped, we'll get them on the website, on the YouTube channel, and let everyone know so you can check out all the fun. Still trying to sort out stuff for Brooklyn Book Festival, too. That's coming up in a few weeks. Really looking forward to that. I have no idea what I'm doing for Banned Book Week. There's a lot of banned books or banned level books out there that I have not read, and it makes me feel bad, so I kind of want to read some of them. That's going to require probably going to the library because I don't have them in my stacks, and I don't really want to invest that much money at the moment, but that's what the libraries are for. Let's see. Still working on getting more interviews and networking opportunities for the group for the rest of the year. That's slow going because schedules are complicated. As for my personal creative endeavors, I'm still working on the outline for my nano novel, and I've been doing my sketch-a-day style art just to try and figure out what sort of style do I want to do. And that has been entertaining but frustrating because I have no skills as of yet, since I've only been doing it for 2 weeks, so it's interesting to try and take a step back and figure out what I don't like, what I do like, what works, what doesn't. Mostly what doesn't, but that is what it is. And I also set up a book a week reading endeavor, which did not happen at all last week, period. I need to toss another book in my bag so I can read it during lunch or something. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. But yeah, that's just my regular ongoing stuff. Just keeps moving along. Don't really have any week-by-week stuff going on lately, which is a shame, but it is what it is. And I'm going to keep stalling until Will returns so he can join in on that. Let's see. While I wait for him, I'm just going to actually jump ahead to the events because we only have 2 left.
Oh.
Or I will wait on the events and actually let Will go on with the goals and aspirations, since that is what we were at.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah. All right,
Did your
so
foxes run away again?
What?
Did your foxes run away from you again?
Yeah, they're little scamps. As foxes tend to be. All right, so we're on to goals and apparitions. Apparitions of having goals. All right, so let's see. Always on the list, record more gameplay. That's always as it comes up as opportunity allows. So if that doesn't happen, it's not really a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Write for myself. Kind of. I did some little Askbox response memes in character on Tumblr, which required some creative writing and thinking. Write for roommate? No. Edit together the next Not Suitable for Word Ninjas podcast. I edited together the next 2 Not Suitable for Word Ninja podcasts.
One of which went up at midnight today.
Yeah. Yesterday. How does that work? Anyway.
Somehow.
This past midnight.
It is live now.
Yeah. So I won't have to actually edit together another Not Suitable for Word Ninja podcast for quite a while.
The next one due up is October 15th
Yeah.
for you.
I've got over a month to work about it.
September's is already queued up to go live on September 15th.
Yes. Read all my new books. I didn't touch any of them. Sad face.
Oh.
I'm going to add a new one in here. Let's see. Upgrade my PC back to Windows 7 64-bit as opposed to 32-bit. Because only being able to run on 3 of the 6 gigs of RAM I have installed is really hindering a lot of things, and I don't like it. So now that I don't have to worry about a Not Suitable for Ninja podcast for the next over a month, I'm going to take the next week or two to back up all my files as I see fit and reinstall the operating system again for the umpteenth time this year.
Would you mind doing my PC while you're at it?
It'll be a little bit difficult to do with you on the other side of the state.
Yeah, and mine is properly borked. I actually re-downloaded Windows 7 64-bit, tried to reformat the whole damn thing and install it, and it refuses to let me. And now it won't boot, period.
Ooh.
So I think it's getting to a Calvin level of, I need help.
Well, I might be able to help with that, but we can talk about that after the podcast. So, but that's on my goals of apparitions and things like that.
And for those of you listening and viewing out there, feel free to post in the comments your own goals for the next week or upcoming period of time if you want your own level of accountability. It is surprisingly useful and also helps me keep things in mind as to what I need to pay attention to every week. Let's see. On to the events. There are 2 left for this year. Goodness. Brooklyn Book Festival, as we mentioned earlier, is happening September 21st, which is a Sunday. Conveniently in Brooklyn. Well, obviously in Brooklyn, not necessarily conveniently. Myself, Calvin, and possibly Justin, we're pretty sure he's going to be able to make it. I may have to kidnap him. Are going to be attending. We are still hammering out the final details for press logistics. If all else fails, we're just going to go and have a lot of fun and talk to a lot of fun authors, including R.L. Stine, who is the biggest name there that I want to meet. And one nice thing about that show is, even though it's one day, it is free to attend. You don't have to pay to attend. You can just show up. I mean, you got to pay if you want to purchase any books or shiny baubles that happen to be there at the vendors, but just to attend, all you got to do is show up. Now, as for the next event, that one you do have to pay for, because that's Rhode Island Comic Con, October 31st to November 2nd, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That one, obviously, Rhode Island, Providence, I believe. We are going to be mostly the full crew there. Myself, Will, Ed, Calvin, and our affiliate, Itty Bitty Sheep, will all be there. That you do have to pay for to attend. The costs aren't terrible if you're just getting a badge, even if it's for a day or a weekend. It's definitely worth checking out if you can. There's a ridiculous guest list for this time round. I think the remaining living cast of Star Trek, the original series, is going to be there, basically. Just as many Star Wars characters. A lot of Supernatural folks. A lot of other fan favorites.
Who from Supernatural is going to be there?
Hmm?
Do you remember any names from Supernatural?
Not offhand, but I know there were like 4 or 5.
Right.
And I know the voice for Edward Elric is going to be there,
Mm-hmm.
although he is not in Supernatural.
No.
At least not yet. I don't know. With that show, you never know. They seem it's running long enough that
Hmm.
probably could get anyone they want in there at some point.
He doesn't really do live acting, though, does he?
Not that I know of offhand. Seems more of a voice actor. So maybe if they get a
And
guest puppet or some
singer-songwriter.
such. Uh, I'm just trying to stall for this thing to load, but the website's being particularly slow.
Hmm.
All right, we got the main site. Clicked on the guest list. Slowly reacting. I really hope that press badges allow us to at least see these guests. I don't know how much we'd be able to talk to them. The fees to get a signed photo, or I think the autograph lines are different, but they have the fees for the photos with the guest stars, which it's outside of my personal budget. But
Hmm.
let's see. For Supernatural, we have a lot.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know Mark Shepard was in there. Mark Shepard, Jim Beaver, Elena Huffman, Stephen Williams, Tommy Flanagan. No, that's Sons of Anarchy.
Hmm.
Starts with an S, but different show. One, two,
Hmm.
three, four. So four already note or posted.
The three big ones aren't going to be there.
Yeah. But as compensation, you get John Rhys Davies from Lord of the Rings.
Hmm. I think I have to step away again.
All right. Let's see. For other fandoms, you got the Sixth Doctor, Colin Baker. You got Brian O'Halloran from Clerks, Eliza Dushku from all sorts of shows. Still think of her as only from Buffy, but got the original Hulk, Flash, Shazam, Captain America, the Red Brown version, $6 Million Man, Greatest American Hero. They got a lot of good names for this show, so definitely should be fun. The voice of Roger Rabbit. So if you can make it, check it out and come say hello. Those are the only two shows left for this year that we are attending, at least that we know of. We are still figuring out logistics for next year because that's far enough away. We don't want to flail around about that quite yet. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up all of those segments and pretty much the show. Let's see. If we entertained you in any way, shape, or form, you are more than welcome to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch, comment, thumbs up all of the various videos. We have the entire back catalog of Word Ninjas Live. We have any press recordings or panel recordings from conventions once we get them all set up, posted up there. We got a couple workshops there, a couple gaming videos. We are hoping to expand that in the future. All sorts of good stuff. Definitely worth checking out. We're also on various social media accounts, which we'll detail at the very end. But by all means, follow and converse with us. We like talking to our listeners and viewers. If you want to help fund our various endeavors, you can go peruse our Etsy store. I believe it's etsy.com/store/full-coverage-writers. Link is farther down in the show notes. I'll detail that soon. Any purchases you make from there help cover everything, really, from like our eventual audiobook recording costs, convention attendance and coordination, tech and recording upgrades, global domination, the regular stuff. Everything that we do is currently privately funded, so if you do happen to purchase anything from the Etsy store, not only do we greatly appreciate it, but it helps speed up some of our endeavors that we want to do and then provide to all of you lovely people. We are also brought to you by many various groups, organizations, peoples, and websites. The links to all of those are going to be in the episode show notes on the website. You can check them all out. I definitely recommend it. And with that, this wraps up the comparatively short episode of Word Ninjas Live. with that, I'm going to start going through the stuff of where you can find all of us. For myself, you can track me down primarily on my zombified Twitter feed. The handle is silver_wolf85. You can also find me as Makarov on the Fairy Tale Podcast on Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, on their YouTube channel. I know they are doing episode 150 tomorrow night, despite being at, I believe it's Dragon Con all weekend right now, currently. So not only is it going to be a big episode, but people are probably going to be pretty wiped out. So things are probably going to get pretty silly. Definitely worth checking out if you can. You can also find me on my personal Tumblr. That's just fancypantswolf.tumblr.com. I will post anything and everything that amuses me or entertains me. So it can be NSFW-ish at times. I will tag those accordingly. And I will cover Will's stuff. You can find Will on his writing Tumblr, which is myroommatesastripper.tumblr.com. Given the name, that is not safe for work. His personal Tumblr is darkhome.tumblr.com, DARKHOM. That is also NSFW because, like me, he posts anything and everything. He also tags them accordingly, but a little more regularly than I do. His zombified Twitter feed is at Will Granville. He also has a SoFurry account, which is darkhome.sofurry.com. You can view all the safe for work stuff for free or without signing in, but if you want to check out the NSFW stuff, you need to create a free account to check that stuff out. And as for Full Coverage Writers, which is our primary organization and handles anything and everything that we do, the website is fcwriters.com. where we have an archive of all the shows, all the worksheets, all the book reviews, everything that we do. Our Etsy store is etsy.com/shop/fullcoveragewriters. We have all of our 75 button designs up. We have the ebook or the digital version of the Warping Time booklet. We got our Word Ninja plushies on there. All sorts of good stuff worth checking out. If you're just listening and not watching, you can track down our YouTube channel, which is wnja.us/YouTube, or just search for Full Coverage Writers. Our literary Twitter handle is at FCWordNinja. Our literary Tumblr is fcwordninja.tumblr.com. If you're more for Facebook, that's just facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. And for anything and everything else, you can just email us. Our address is wordninja@fcwriters.com. And with that, that wraps up all of episode 57 of Word Ninjas Live. I hope you enjoyed it and we entertained you in some way, shape, or form. Feel free to come back next Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for episode 58. Hopefully we have a few more of the crew or a special guest, or maybe we can talk about some of those hypothetical questions that we skipped for this week. We shall see. But until then, have a good week all. Until next time.